She gave him everything. 20 years of her life. Every sacrifice a mother can make. She worked double shifts so he could go to university. She went without new clothes so he could have the latest phone. She stayed up at night worrying about his future while he slept soundly in the bedroom she paid for. And on a Tuesday morning in November, she woke up, opened her banking app, and found her account balance. 0. Not overdrawn, not a banking error, 0. Because someone had transferred every single euro, every single cent the night before, and that someone was her son. Today we're going to talk about one of the most painful forms of family betrayal that exists. And we're going to use dark psychology to explain not just what happened, but why a human being does something like this to the person who loved them most. Stay until the end, because the psychology behind this will change the way you see people forever. Her name is Marie, and I want you to picture her for a moment. She was 24 years old when she became a single mother. No family nearby, no financial support, just her and a baby boy she named Luca. For the first 5 years, she worked as a cashier during the day and cleaned offices at night. She did this so Luca would never feel poor, so he would never know what it felt like to go to school without the right shoes, without lunch money, without confidence. And she succeeded. From the outside, Luca had everything. He was popular at school. He had friends. He went on school trips. He had a smartphone at 13, a laptop at 15. His mother made sure of it. But here is where the story gets complicated. Because while Marie was giving everything, Luca was learning something dangerous. When a child receives unconditional material provision without experiencing consequence or contribution, the brain begins to code receiving as a right rather than a gift. Over time, love itself becomes expected, not appreciated. This is the psychological foundation of what was about to happen. Luca grew up. He went to university, paid for by his mother. He dropped out after 1 year without telling her. For 8 months, he pretended to go to class. She kept paying his rent, his food, his expenses. And then one day, he came home. He told her he needed help, that he was in trouble, that some people were after him for money he owed. Marie did not hesitate. She gave him access to her savings account. She trusted him completely. He was her son. He was her whole world. That night, while Marie slept, Luca sat at her kitchen table. He opened her banking app on his phone. She had given him the password herself, trusting him to check if a payment had come through. He transferred everything. 12,000 euros, her entire savings, the money she had been building for 15 years, for emergencies, for her retirement, for the future she had imagined for herself after he no longer needed her. He transferred it to an account she had never seen. And then he packed a bag, and he left. He did not leave a note. He did not answer her calls. He blocked her number. He blocked her on every social media platform. He simply erased her. The woman who had given up 20 years of her life woke up that Tuesday morning alone, broke, and completely invisible to the person she had sacrificed everything for. Now, I need to ask you something. How does a human being do this? This is not a monster from a movie. This was a man who kissed his mother goodnight as a child, who cried when he fell off his bicycle, who called her when he was scared. Dark psychology has an answer, and it is one of the most disturbing things I have ever researched. Psychologists call what happened to Marie a case of the entitlement trap, and it is more common than you think. The entitlement trap occurs when years of unconditional giving, without boundaries, teach the recipient that the giver's role is purely functional. The giver is no longer seen as a full human being with needs and limits. They are coded in the recipient's mind as a resource, and resources psychologically do not deserve loyalty. They deserve to be used. This is not about bad genetics. It is not about evil. It is about a psychological pattern that forms slowly, silently over years, and that almost no one sees coming. There are 3 stages, and I want you to listen carefully, because if you recognize these stages in someone you love, it may not be too late to change course. It begins so subtly that parents almost never notice. The child stops saying thank you, not dramatically, not rudely, just gradually. Gratitude fades. Small requests become demands. The word please disappears. And when the parent provides something, the response is not joy, it is expectation. as if it was always coming. At some point, the person begins to test the limits of what they can take. They miss a payment. They ask for more than they should. They lie about something small. And they watch carefully to see if there are any consequences. In Luca's case, dropping out of university and hiding it for 8 months was a test. Marie failed it, not because she did anything wrong, but because she forgave without confronting. And in his mind, that confirmed one thing: there are no limits. When a person in the entitlement trap tests a boundary and faces no consequence, their brain registers a critical update. This relationship has no cost. From that moment, the escalation towards serious harm becomes almost inevitable, not out of cruelty, but out of a deeply distorted internal logic. The final stage is dehumanization. Before a person can betray someone completely, they must first stop seeing them as a full human being. Psychologists call this object reduction. The victim becomes, in the betrayer's mind, not a person with feelings and history, but an obstacle, a source, a problem to solve. When Luca took that money and disappeared, he was not thinking about his mother's tears. He was not thinking about 20 years of sacrifice. In his psychological reality, as disturbing as this is, she had become a transaction. And here is the hardest truth of all. None of this happened because Marie was a bad mother. It happened because she was a mother who loved without boundaries. And dark psychology tells us clearly, love without boundaries, in the wrong conditions, can create the very monster that destroys you. Marie eventually recovered. It took 3 years, a new job, therapy, and the painful work of rebuilding a sense of self-worth that had been quietly eroded over decades of giving. She told her story so that other parents could hear it, not to destroy the image of her son, but because, as she said, and I will never forget this, I did not fail as a mother by loving him too much. I failed by forgetting to also love myself. If you are watching this and you recognize something in this story, whether you are a parent, a partner, a friend, I want to leave you with 3 questions that dark psychology says you should ask yourself right now. 1, does this person in your life express genuine gratitude? Not just words, but actions. Do they show up for you the way you show up for them? 2, have you set boundaries, and what happened when you did? A person who respects you will accept limits. A person who is in the entitlement trap will react with anger, guilt tripping, or simply disappearing. 3, when you imagine stopping the giving, stopping the sacrificing, do you feel relief or do you feel fear? Because if it is fear, that fear is worth examining. I want to know what you think. Was this betrayal something that could have been prevented? Or was it inevitable the moment Marie gave him access to that account? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you have ever experienced something like this, in your family, with a friend, with a partner, share it. Your story might help someone watching right now who does not yet have the words for what they're going through. If this video made you think differently about the people in your life, subscribe. Every week I bring you a new story, a new dark psychology breakdown, and a new lens through which to understand the most complicated emotion in the world, betrayal. I will see you in the next one.